Welcome, everyone. And for those of you who came from the event down at the hall, the research, the celebration of research, thank you for making the trip down. For those of you who came to this event, welcome very much. This is our second Research Cafe of the year. The first one was in November. It was on graduate student careers. This one is brought to us by the Environmental Sustainability Research Center, a transdisciplinary center which has just been approved as one of 5. And we're hoping more good news for them in the near future when we hear that their graduate program has been approved. The setup for our research cafes has been pretty well the same for about 5 years now. It's a combination of faculty and students presenting, where the faculty member usually has the short end of the time frame and gives more of an overview, and the graduate students present more of the bread and butter of what's going on in that research area. I think in this one, the one wrinkle that we'll have is after each group, there'll be a question period rather than saving it all to the end, because they will cover a fair amount of territory with regard to sustainability. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the moderator, Christine Daigle.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks and welcome everybody to this Research Cafe. The team, when I was asked to moderate this cafe, I thought, yes, of course. I mean, this is a very pressing issue, very interesting, and I don't think that anybody we know wouldn't have thought about this issue at least for 1 second, right? Plus, it was a friend asking, so she managed to pull me out of my sabbatical. Thanks, Liette, for that. I'm completely happy to be here and to moderate this and to hear what these researchers have to tell us about environmental sustainability in a changing climate. I'm sure we have all heard someone say at some point, why should I bother recycling when others don't do their share, right? I guess one obvious reason for the transdisciplinary researchers involved in the Brock University Environmental Sustainability Research Center would be that no individual, be it a physical or a moral person, no individual ever acts in isolation. We live as interconnected beings, and what one does or does not do here and now might have unsuspected impacts on a small and large scale. If this is true, it seems that only transdisciplinary research can hope to capture the complex reality of the world we live in. The work done at the center steps outside disciplinary boundaries, gathering researchers from diverse fields. If you look at their webpage and all the work that the researchers do, it's quite impressive to see the breadth of fields that are being covered. The research questions driving the researchers are pressing contemporary issues that need solutions, and these solutions are urgently needed, right? I would like to suggest that it is perhaps because traditional research has worn those disciplinary blinders that the issues have become as pressing as they are today. A disciplinary approach to complex issues such as environmental sustainability and climate change will necessarily be limited, and in fact may create more problems than it solves. A transdisciplinary approach such as that taken by researchers of the center is more circumspect, gathering disciplinary strengths and willing to look beyond those disciplinary strengths and take the research questions as the driving force, rather than disciplinary trends, rules, and methods. Transdisciplinary research allows for novel ways to think about the issues we face, and therefore it also allows for novel solutions to emerge, ones that may really fix the problems at hand. So today, in this research cafe, we will hear presentations from researchers affiliated with the center. And these presentations will introduce us to some of the transdisciplinary work that is underway at the center. It will give us a glimpse of all the extraordinary work that is being done there. And I hope that you will find this work as interesting as I do, and that you will continue following what they are doing. There's lots of material posted on their website and made available for you to read. So the way this will work, we will have two presentations, as Mike was saying, two presentations and then a question period. The first two presenters are Ryan Plummer, who is the director of the Environmental Sustainability Research Center and professor of tourism and environment. His presentation, Pursuing Sustainability in a Complex World, Governance of Social Ecological Systems. His presentation will be followed by Julia Baird, who's a postdoctoral fellow and associate with the Research Center. And Julia's paper will be on climate change, adaptation, governance, a social network perspective. So please welcome Ryan Plummer.
Great. Thank you so very much for the warm welcome. It's wonderful to be here today, and as Christine mentioned, I wear a few different hats here at the university, and that's always good when you get a chance to start off something like this, because you can speak to both those hats, although it's duly noted that I'm supposed to be the one with a short presentation and Julia's to have lots more time. So I'll keep my comments really brief. I just, on behalf of the center, want to just express our appreciation for everybody coming out on a cold afternoon. I'm glad it's not Friday. That really made me nervous with that amount of snow, that we could have a great turnout. It's always such a positive sign to see when they get extra chairs. So thank you on behalf of the center for coming out and joining us, and we look forward to having a dialogue about many of these issues. There's some posters, and I see many of our center members here, and I know we'd all be happy to start having that discussion. And the other thing I just want to certainly say and acknowledge Brock and the support of our center as one of the transdisciplinary initiatives here, and of course this is part of that. So switching hats, in addition to directing our center, I also try to still maintain a bit of a research profile here at the university. And working in a transdisciplinary environment, I've actually started to pick up different terminology that I never started to use before starting to work with as many natural scientists. So I actually now affectionately refer to this as a lab, even though we don't have a lab in a conventional definition, but this is my lab and my team. I'm extremely fortunate to work with a series of gifted individuals, and I've been at Brock now for 13, 14 years. Half my time I've spent in applied health sciences, and more recent half I've spent in social sciences. But throughout that time, I've really focused on trying to build a program of research here at Brock that focuses in on sustainability, but in particular on this idea around governance of social ecological systems. And probably the understatement that you're going to hear tonight is the one I'm about to make, and that is the fact that we live in really interesting and complex times. And so you'll see, if you could imagine being able to say to people that you were alive at a time when we actually thought we were entering a new epoch. Isn't that an interesting opportunity to be alive in? Well, 10 years ago or so, Will Steffen and colleagues started out presenting a series of information that said, well, humans actually are having such an impact on shaping our Earth system that maybe we should refer to this as the Anthropocene, as opposed to the Holocene, or steady state that our Earth system has been in for the last several hundred years. And so we see all kinds of graphs, such as are on the screen, where since the Industrial Revolution and all kinds of properties that we are very concerned about on the Earth, we see a common trend. And for me, as a social scientist, what's really fascinating is all of a sudden when The Economist picks this up and prints it on its front cover and says, welcome everybody to the Anthropocene. Guess what? Humans are now shaping the dominant shapers of our Earth. But where do we go with that? So that's one of the kind of initial messages. And then we have colleagues at the Stockholm Resilience Center which are looking at what are the different boundaries of the Earth and where are we in relation to those different boundaries. And so the other graphic on the screen is a recent piece of work that came out where they've actually tried to map on things that we know and don't know, and there's an awful lot that as scientists we don't know, but we've already transgressed 3 of those boundaries. And we're on the way to transgressing several more. So where does that take us? Well, it puts us in a really interesting place as a researcher to ask questions. And for me, the question is, how do you then as a species operate within a system where you're a significant driver of the change and you need to operate within specific limits? And that's a really big research question. SSHRC and NSERC really don't usually like questions quite that big. They want something a little more defined. And so one of the things that I really enjoy doing is talking to other people about, well, how do we start tackling that and where do we move forward? And I recently had a chance to have lunch with Carl Folk from Stockholm, and his office happens to be in the Royal Academy. And if you get a chance to read the latest issue of Ambio, it's fantastic. And they just had the Nobel laureate 3rd Symposium on Global Sustainability. And the slogan at the bottom and what they're really focusing in on is how do we reconnect to the biosphere? Right? So there's all of these factors operating about our climate systems, but at the end of the day, and I think this really speaks to the heart of the type of research that our team does, is how do you connect people with their actions and activities and the environment? And so the viewpoint that our team operates from, by and large, is we focus on sustainability, but we come at it from a specific angle. And so we look at sustainability not as an end state, not simply as a series of pillars, but we look at it as an ongoing dynamic process where we're concerned with social and ecological systems, so how humans combine with nature, so it's a human and nature, hence the interconnection, and look at it as an ongoing process of dynamic change where the capacity to adapt is critical to resilient social ecological systems. So that's our fundamental lens then that we bring to all of these research that we do. And of that, we focus in on a particular aspect that most of our research looks at, and this is the idea of governance. And so this schematic, and again, I'm a visual person, so I love all these kinds of frameworks and stuff, models. So traditionally, what we've been concerned about, or traditionally the way things have been done, is government makes decisions, or a market dictates how actions, behaviors, things interact in terms of supply and demand, etc., or community, locally, we have governed our particular resources. And so when we use the term governance, we use it to refer to both the formal and informal ways that people come together through networks to influence decision-making processes. So how you act towards the environment are influenced, and you conversely shape these governance processes. And so we focus in then specifically on this co-management or collaborative management area of focus within different governance arrangements. So there's all kinds of different governance arrangements that are out there. They're hybridizing now, so we used to just think it was either state, market, or community. Now we think, well, those come together in all kinds of interesting and exciting ways. And we try to spend most of our time thinking about how do people work together and connect, and that's a collaborative part, and then how do they actually learn and take those lessons and implement them into action to reflect on, to change how they act, to change their values, and to change their norms. And we do that in a number of, I thought I somehow had sound effects that I was unaware of, which is always dangerous when you're doing a presentation. We do that in a number of different contexts. And again, the intent of my talk here is just to, in very broad strokes, speak to the types of research that we do. So in our research group or lab, we primarily focus on water. We focus on climate or environmental change. And we also look at landscape, various landscapes, including biosphere reserves. And we do that through a number of different methodologies and conceptual lenses. And so some of the collage here is just the display that we do everything from work with co-investigation or co-knowledge creation projects with First Nations partners where we're drawing using traditional knowledge, interpretation of how we would adapt to climate change, to doing vulnerability assessments in a quantitative sense using statistical modeling formulas, and of course a little bit of everything in between. So this idea of we try to let the problem dictate the approach that we use is one that we try at least to take our cue from and try to embrace in this transdisciplinary mode. So I will turn it over to Julie at this point, and she will speak to one specific project I think that she's led at least within our group.